This is Forensic Talk with Jim Campbell. All talk and all crime, the nation's biggest murders, financial crimes on Wall Street. The facts, the forensics, the inside stories today.
The point is, ladies and gentlemen, that greed is good. Greed is right. Greed works.
A poster child for the Enron, WorldCom, Tyco era of corporate greed and fraud. Was it prosecutorial abuse that led to the railroading of a legendary CEO? In his only broadcast interview since release from prison, setting history straight, Dennis Kozlowski was a 27-year veteran of Tyco, the last 10 years serving as CEO, building one of the most successful growth machines in the history of corporate America, thousands of acquisitions until the downfall and a prison sentence of unprecedented length, serving more time than murderers. Dennis Kozlowski, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Jim. Nice to be here this morning.
An incredible record. You started at $20 million in revenues, built it to $40 billion, and yet the legacy obscured by the shower curtain and other things. How do you feel about that?
I feel that I put the era of my prosecution and what I went through in back of me now. That was some time ago, and I'm off to a new start, doing other things and moving on from where I was.
You were accused of basically stealing $170 million from Tyco through undocumented secret loans, etc. You were in prison, I think, for over 100 months. The average homicide is 52 months. They tried to charge you under a RICO, which is, criminal enterprise, mafia. All 80 of those charges were shut out. You were tried by the state, not the federal. All this was documented, though, by Price Waterhouse and your board.
Yes, and the bonuses were all audited by outside auditors, so all that was there. I was accused and convicted of not having the bonuses appropriately approved by directors. Which is
why they call it stealing your own bonuses.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about reform items, prison and then governance. You sat in there. Do you have ideas for prison reform, or there's a lot of waste going on, right, of talent, and folks go back out on the street with nothing?
Prison reform should be high on everybody's agenda because it's such a drain on society. Yeah. I'm involved in the Fortune organization, which helps people coming out of jail to get back on their feet, providing housing, job training, and ultimately jobs.
Thanks to Dennis Kozlowski. That was a hugely fast hour, and really appreciate him coming by because he's keeping a low profile. He's not doing interviews, so it really means a lot that you've done this. Rumi Khan was convicted, sentenced to 1 year in prison for insider trading. She worked for Raj Rajaratnam at the Galleon Group hedge fund, for Intel, Trivium Capital, and IBM. Tell us briefly, what was prison like?
Your life, as you know, changes forever. I was not only lynched by the media, I had to go to prison after cooperating with the feds for 7 years, helping them crack the biggest insider trading case. I helped them with how the network of information works, everything. It's not the prison, because the prison actually gave me time to put myself together and focus on what I want to do going forward. It's the fact that, people like myself and a lot of people on Wall Street, we go through a lot of education to try to open doors. I tell my daughter, you have to get degrees so that your doors are open for you, so that when you go to bed in life, you have choices. After something like this, there are no choices. I cannot even get a teaching job. You
were at a point where you'd made $50 million before Galleon. I assume a lot of that was legitimately made. You'd had a house you bought for cash for $11 million. You'd love to go in and spend $10,000 at a drop. You had $50,000 of wine at one party. In retrospect, does that kind of look like, the whole greed is good kind of thing?
I would not say that at all. I think for a lot of people, such as myself, who come from very modest background, and I was afforded a great opportunity to study in this country. I came from India. I found great work here, and then once I went to Wall Street, when I started working for Raj, the 99-2000 time, the market, all you had to do was get up in the morning and see how your stocks were doing, and they were going up every day. And I was in the right segments at the right time. I traded the market reasonably well. But, in hindsight, they say that the bull market can give you a false impression of yourself. And a lot of people started thinking, such as myself, that we are very gifted traders. And as we look back, the answer is no.
The resurrection of SAC Capital into .72 Asset Management. Hedge fund titan and Greenwich resident Steve Cohen's firm forced to shut down by the government on allegations of insider trading, re-emerging as a family office. First up, Doug Hayes is the president of .72 Asset Management. Prior to joining .72, he was director at McKinsey. He's worked for the CIA and General Electric. Welcome, Doug. Good to have you.
Thank you, Jim.
So I want to start off just with the scope of the challenge that you were given, and this is from the criminal complaint. The indictment charges the management of a major hedge fund with criminal responsibility for insider trading offenses committed by numerous employees, made possible by institutional practices that encourage the widespread solicitation and use of illegal inside information, and institutional indifference to unlawful conduct resulting in insider trading that was substantial, pervasive, and on a scale without known precedent in the hedge fund industry. Tell us why you were hired, what it was like to come into a firm that psychologically had a near-death experience.
Thank you. You know, not surprisingly, every firm has lots of good and bad in it. There's strengths and weaknesses in every culture, strengths and weaknesses and capabilities in every institution. Crisis tends to focus people on the bad things, and our firm was no exception. However, when you get beneath that, there were a lot of good things, and I had a lot to build on. So it wasn't like there weren't a tremendous number of positive things to work from.
How do you change a culture when the top guy is still the top guy? And there was criticism of the culture when the top guy was the top guy before.
Sure. Like I said, there's a lot of strengths in the company culture, and there are tremendous strengths in Steve as a person. So building with the top guy still in place is really about finding the strengths of the person and the organization, and not just Steve, right? The whole management team and the investment professionals. Finding all those strengths and building around those.
It's a happy ending for SAC, now .72. Forensic Talk with Jim Campbell. In-depth looks at big crime stories. Exclusive interviews only on Forensic Talk with Jim Campbell.